MLS Aces Podcast, episode 271. This is your host, Tom Sweezy, and I'm joined by, just like Lionel Messi, my very own $20 million man in MLS, Jason Vivang. Jason, how are you?
I don't know. I haven't seen that money yet. So, are you
As soon as
sure?
that,
So nobody told me about this 20 million.
you're 20 million in my heart, not, I guess not on the paycheck just yet, but it will come soon. It will come soon. How are you over there in the middle of the country?
I am good. Just same old as always. I guess better this week though than last week. So that's
Good.
good.
I'm glad you're feeling better. So if you're listening to this, watching this, it's one of the bigger episodes of the year. It's the Decision Day preview. Maybe the Decision Day post episode is bigger just because we know the playoffs. But and also if you're watching this and you've watched episodes in the past, I don't have my background, unfortunately. It's been a makeshift kind of night
It's a
over here.
dark window. Is it actually that dark out? Or do you?
Yeah, no, it's dark outside.
Oh
Yeah.
my God!
That's my reflection.
Look at how light mine is.
It's time differences, man. It really, that's how they work.
No.
All right. So, like I said, it's the preview for Decision Day. There is a lot of news and notes to kind of talk about before we get into Decision Day. So, I think Jason and I, the plan is to run through this stuff as quickly as possible, but really to still give you some insight into everything going on. First and foremost, I think we should start with Michael Bradley being the top thing. I know I don't have him on the notes here, Jason, but the man Jason Vivang, the man Michael Bradley has decided to retire from professional soccer. His final game will be this upcoming weekend on Decision Day for Toronto FC, as they play pretty much a pointless game this weekend. So we'll dive into TFC's Decision Day. This is probably going to be arguably the biggest storyline from their game this weekend. But I think, and I'll speak from my point of view about Michael Bradley. You can obviously go on yourself there, but the generation of USMNT soccer player that Michael Bradley was a part of, I think is really the main reason why I got into watching soccer, liking soccer, and ultimately the podcast and everything else, right? So Michael Bradley was integral to me personally as a fan when I talk about my love for the sport. Him, Landon, Josie, Clint, Tim Howard, like that was the five for me that I was like, yes, like these are the best players in the world. No one's topping these guys, right? And Michael Bradley easily was the one of the mainstays of that, from his time of kind of, for me, growing up in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, like him at Roma was like the thing, like Italian American central of the United States, like him at Roma, like everyone's talking about an American playing in Italy. But obviously he had a successful career in Europe outside of one club, but had a successful career in Europe, in Italy, in Germany, in the Netherlands. And really when he made that return back to Toronto was ultimately, for me, the biggest turning point for Toronto FC in Major League Soccer. And it's absolutely special what Michael Bradley, I think, means for Toronto FC, means for Major League Soccer, means for the U.S. men's national team, means for me personally as a fan, and I'm sure a whole generation of other fans across the United States. So I feel like starting off this episode by just giving Michael Bradley some love, some congratulations, and I hope he enjoys his retirement, was 100% fitting. So, Jason, I don't know if you have anything you want to say.
Yeah,
about
I mean, I fall. I'm kind of echoing. Am I echoing for you?
Might be me. I'll mute myself.
Anyways, I fall on a similar generation. Obviously, we're like pretty much the same age. So like the 2010 World Cup, 2014 World Cup, those were like the 2010 World Cup is like the first major U.S. soccer event that I can genuinely remember being hyped for and watching pretty much every single game, getting excited about it. And so, like, honestly, I don't want to just reiterate what you just said, but essentially what you just said is the exact same way I feel. It's like that whole generation of players is so meaningful to me. And I think Bradley is one of those guys. And like, sure, there are people who, don't necessarily love that generation, but but like without that generation, we wouldn't have the current ones, and we wouldn't have so much hype around the US. Like that really was the springboard for the whole program. And obviously there's some legends before them, but like I feel like they were the first to really make a major global impact. So I don't know. That generation will always be kind of like near and dear in my heart. Just for me as like a child getting super excited and watching them.
I mean, 100%. It's the ones that I think we really started probably understanding the game a little bit more around, and like, wow, these guys are really good. And Michael Bradley is one of the best U.S. midfielders of all time. Whether you consider him a 6, an 8, whatever you want to consider Michael Bradley, right? He did it at every single position at all levels. There is an article coming out on the MLS Aces website, which is back, everyone, if you didn't know, and some people, aka Sam, didn't know it was gone. So solid over there, Sam Nelson. But there is going to be an article dropping tomorrow about Michael Bradley. But he was a piece from helping prepare the squad go to the 2006 World Cup, to the various World Cups after 2010, 2014, like you mentioned, Jason. And yes, this group had themselves an ugly end to their time, I think, as USMNT players, and I think that can be something that is probably marked very negatively upon for Michael Bradley and a few others. But this man gave so much more than that, and it needs to be remembered for so much more than that. I think he's third all time. He's the third player all time in USMNT history with more than 150 caps. He has 17 goals and 21 assists in his USMNT career. He's raised 2 gold cups. He's played at multiple World Cups. Like, this man's a legend. Just want to give the man.
I think, just regardless of how anyone listening or whoever feels about the way it ended and stuff, the guy's a legend. Like, he gave it all for the U.S. He gave it all. He went out there. He competed every single time. Sure, sometimes the results didn't go our way. That just happens. That's part of the sport. And honestly, like, at the end of the day, he's inspired so many people and helped the U.S. soccer in general grow, that he just deserves so much respect.
I'm also going to say probably helped inspire the likes of Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Joe Scally, Matt Turner, any other domestic U.S. soccer talent, and probably, the non.
I mean, he played with Pulisic, a very young Pulisic. I'm sure he talked to Pulisic and said, blah, blah, this is this. And, I'm sure he's helped many of them, even now, potentially.
Exactly. And if we want to transition from the then of Michael Bradley and the thank you of Michael Bradley to the now of the USMNT, we did have 2 friendlies this past week for the U.S., resulting in a 3-1 loss to Germany up in Hartford, Connecticut, and then a 4-0 thrashing of Ghana in Nashville, Tennessee. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's friendlies. I think these are important games. We have more important stuff to talk about, so that's why I think we're going to gloss over this a little bit. But Jason, I'll start with you, just in the sense of what caught your eye from this window. Any player in particular, anything that Greg did, tactics, anything.
Just going to repeat what I say every window, like I texted you.
It is what it is.
Once again, I just feel like Weah is just on another level with the U.S. team. He does things that are just incredible in that Ghana game, specifically. But just in general, he creates so many opportunities. He flies up and down the field, just plays with a different type of energy, I feel like, in the U.S. shirt. From like a wider angle, like, I don't know how much we could necessarily take from these games, but I think they were important and good games to play real competition. I think before, a week ago, we were talking about, it's Germany and Ghana. It's not, no offense to like Trinidad, obviously, because they, they're at top of mind, I guess.
Don't forget Cuba.
But like these are the games you want, whether they're friendlies or not. They're interesting. You get to play really good competition. I think in the Germany game, we saw just like how talented some of those German players are.
I think to round about Germany, right? I think the U.S. played a really good first half. I think the second half was the complete showing of tactical adjustments and just how good Germany is and why they're one of the best teams in the world, and just kind of the difference between the US and Germany in a half, right? Going into a half, making the adjustments, being the better side, having the more talent, especially after we started making subs and such. So I think that I don't hate the first half of how we played against Germany. I hate the second half in
I would
reality.
say, like, I think we're past the stage of really caring about each individual result and trying more to see how the team plays versus all competition, how they address each window, who the players are, who the new ones that come on are, and how well they play. Honestly, I was a little surprised Leonard Maloney didn't play versus Germany just because he plays in the German league. So it just felt like he might be a little bit more comfortable playing against a lot of those guys. But at the end of the day, it's like we have limited times, we have limited windows. This is 2 game friendlies. Like, sometimes the U.S. fan base just needs to pump the brakes a little bit.
100%. And I'm just glad that honestly, at the end of this window, we can sit back and say we saw positive performances from Pulisic, Weah, McKennie, especially Matt
Balogun.
Turner, Musa. Like, so many guys, I think, stood out and played confidently. Whether the Germany loss is the greatest or not, like you said, I think it's a mute point to the fact that, okay, this is a realization that if we're going to play the best teams in the world, this is what we're going to have to do. We need to put in a 90-minute performance, not a 45-minute performance, right? And the only other player that I really want to just mention in this is Gio Reyna, right? His return to the USMNT, Greg, and all that kind of BS. I mean, Gio, I think, struggled a little bit towards the end of the first half in Germany, but he came out with Ghana against Ghana. He had that, that finish in the whatever it was, the 10th minute to kind of clean up a goal. Then that beautiful, very rare indirect free kick play between him, Balogun, and Pulisic, where he just put that curler in, right? Everyone online's talking about how Gio, Greg's probably pissed off and all angry and everything like that Gio's putting in performances. Why would he be angry? He has a player playing in the system, doing the things that he wants and putting in results and performances and scoring. I think Greg's probably happy.
There's too many Greg haters.
Exactly. It is what it is.
That's
I'm just
what it
happy
is,
to
honestly.
see Gio is a 20-year-old, one of our best talents out on that field, and seeing him score and seeing him get involved and just being so creative, which was a major piece that, yes, we were missing in the World Cup. I think is only just great for this USMNT squad. I'm just happy to see him scoring, celebrating with Weah and Pulisic, and they looked happy together. Like, this was a positive window at the end of the day. Yes, we lost to Germany. Yes, it was a bad second half there, but we played 3 really good halves of soccer, if you ask me. Anything else?
No.
All right. Okay. We move on. I don't really want to talk about it much, but there are 2 sets of playoffs that are set here in the United States if you enjoy watching U.S. soccer. First off, the USL Championship playoffs are set. I know, Jason, you are a huge USL guy. Go. El Paso's in it, by the way. So
hey, should I give him another shot?
There you go. Give him another shot. I think
give him another shot at my fandom.
I think they get eliminated round 1, so sorry about that. But outside of the USL Championship playoffs, we also have the MLS Next Pro Cup playoffs, however you want to word that. Outside of it being the playoffs, the final is set. This upcoming Sunday, October 22nd in Columbus, Ohio, the reigning MLS Next Pro champions, Columbus Crew 2, are hosting Austin FC 2. It's going to be a very good game. You have a lot of talent on both sides. Obviously, Columbus now with Wilfred Nancy prioritizing youth development. Crew 2 are back in the second ever final, hoping to go back-to-back, being the only champions of this league ever. And Austin FC had a really good 2 team this year. So I think if you're going to tune into an MLS Next Pro game at all this year, well, it's your last opportunity, 1, to do so, but 2, it should be the final to potentially see maybe some future stars that come up for Columbus and Austin next year, the same way Columbus did that this year.
Do we run through this, but we both say who we voted for before saying
Yes,
The
I
winner?
have.
Which is pretty. You might have to fact check me because I'm gonna try and go off memory, but I can't remember what I put.
I have your ballot right here. Don't you worry. I prepared for that. I
Oh,
prepared for all of this. Yes. So it is MLS Aces award season. End of the season before decision day. That means we have our winners for the 2023 awards for this MLS season. Not the official MLS awards. This is our MLS Aces awards.
And we pulled. It wasn't just you and me, first of
No,
all, right?
yes. So
Yeah.
it wasn't just me, Jason. It wasn't just Sam included. We did have a combination of over 50 people vote to help break this from a preliminary vote down to a final vote to what we have now as the winners. There are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 awards, and then we have a full team of the season. Just the best 11. Sorry, Tom Bogert. Sorry, a few other people out there who are pushing for multiple teams of the year and benches and stuff like that. No, we'd have our best 11 and we have a few awards.
That was a tough one. That was a tough debate for me. I didn't know what to choose.
It is a debate for sure, but I'm going to run through these as quickly as possible. And Jason, I'll pretty much test you to see if you remember who you voted for.
Yeah, this will be interesting.
And obviously, these are such official awards, and everyone should be so honored for winning this. So first off, I'm going to go awards based off of I think least important in my mind to most important. So
okay, well let me scroll around.
That's how I'm doing it. So MLS Aces newcomer of the year. Our finalists were Georgios Giamakis, Amin Bassi, Lionel Messi, Joao Klaus, and Roman Berkey. The winner this year was Inter Miami's. Sorry.
We usually do our votes and then do the winner.
Whatever. Okay, so my vote was the winner.
No one knows who it is now.
Inter Miami's Lionel Messi. I'll spoil the first one. Jason,
I couldn't vote for Messi. I just don't feel like he was here long enough. I'm pretty sure I put Klaus.
You did. You did put Joao Klaus. I think if we're talking impact both on and off the field, this man also did get his team's first trophy and qualify for CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Was that in MLS season?
Okay, Lionel Messi is going to go down as the biggest.
He played like 2 MLS games.
It's the argument that I'm using for him not winning MVP. But if I'm going to give him any award, it's newcomer of the year. It is the least important award I think I can think of. I mean,
just the hype he brought in, you could argue warranted the award himself.
Exactly.
But I do feel like Klaus would have been a deserving winner.
The hype, 100%.
Even Berkey would have been deserving. Even Giacomakis.
Yep, you nailed that. All right. MLS Aces Comeback Player of the Year, the only award that had 3 finalists because there wasn't enough people voted for in the preliminary voting. But we have Corey Baird, Hector Herrera, Alan Pulido. Jason, do you remember who you voted for?
I believe I'm over 2 here, and I voted for Hector Herrera.
You voted for Corey Baird.
Oh, I voted for Corey Baird.
I voted for Hector Herrera. We both went with Houston boys, but the winner did not come from Houston.
I'm still 0-2, and I'm 1-1 on picking who I picked.
The winner is Sporting Kansas City's Alan Pulido, coming off a year-end injury last year. I think to have over 10 goals scored in the league this year, very well deserving award for Alan Pulido as for comeback MLS Aces Comeback Player.
I'm about to be 0-3 here.
MLS Aces Young Player of the Year, and just to qualify this for the people listening and or watching, Young Player of the Year means 21 years old or younger at the point of the end of the season. The finalists for this award, we had Caleb Wiley, Brian Gutierrez, Alan Velasco, Benji Kramashki, and John Tolkien. Jason, do you remember who you voted for?
I do. I think Chris Brady got snubbed, by the way.
We had a preliminary vote.
I know. And I think I put him in. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I voted for Brian Gutierrez out of I couldn't not. I knew he wouldn't win this, but I couldn't not.
You voted for your Chicago Fire man, Brian Gutierrez. I voted for Caleb Wiley. I think his emergence onto the scene was well deserving. And in a slim win, your man Brian did finish second, but in a slim win, John Tolkien of the New York Red Bulls did come away with this award.
I would say that's pretty deserving.
In the last year, that he's eligible for the award. He is 21 years old, so shout out John Tolkien on taking that home. So
this one had to be a landslide.
We go from the slimmest margin of victory in voting to the biggest landslide in voting. But the MLS Aces Rookie of the Year, this is a defunct award for the official league of Major League Soccer. But I personally like the award. It is pretty much the best super draft pick from this past year. Finalists were Andrew Privet, Patrick Agyemang.
Okay, and you made fun of me.
Sorry, Vaughn Pullman could probably correct me on that one. Moise Bombito, Duncan McGuire, and Emeka Enele. Only 3 people got votes. 2 of those people only got 1 singular vote, and the one man took the rest of them. And Jason, do you want to say who that winner is?
That was Duncan McGuire. I don't think anyone can complain about that one.
Duncan McGuire.
Also, that was Vaughn's preseason pick.
That was Vaughn.
I picked the other, his name, their other striker.
I don't know who you're talking about.
He was like the 7th pick. This is going to bother me.
It's okay. Well, overall, we will talk the preseason predictions next episode, post-decision day. But let's keep things going. MLS Aces Coach of the Year.
I picked Shaq Muhammad. Sorry, I had to say.
It was not Shaq Muhammad. It was not. He did have a good year in MLS Next Pro, though. MLS Aces Coach of the Year finalists, we have Pat Noonan, Ben Olsen, Oscar Pareja, Jim Curtin, and Bradley Carnell. Jason, do you remember who you voted for?
This one we debated a little bit.
We did.
I picked Ben Olsen for this award.
It's fair. He was a finalist for a reason. Man took home the U.S. Open Cup title, but the guy who I voted for did take home the official award, Pat Noonan of FC Cincinnati.
Which, it makes sense. All right, I'm not going to say anything. I'm now 1 for, 6?
You're not doing great. You got Duncan McGuire. You're not doing great, though.
1 for 5.
All right, let's talk MLS Aces. Uncle Sam Nelson, honorary, our co-host Sam, who's been out for the last few weeks. He is the honorary namee of this award. So the MLS Aces Uncle Sam Nelson, Goalkeeper of the Year. This also is the person who gets our spot on the Team of the Season for goalkeeper. It only makes sense that the Goalkeeper of the Year and the Best 11 goalkeeper is the same player. Jason, do you remember who you voted for?
Yes. Did you read all the names yet or no?
Oh, yep. Sorry. Finalists: Roman Celentano, Steve Clark, Drake Callender, Pedro Gallese, and 2 Romans. I didn't realize that.
I know my preseason pick.
Roman Berkey. Your preseason pick is not the guy you voted for.
I know, but I voted for Roman Berkey.
Yep, I voted for Roman Berkey as well, and he is the winner of the MLS Aces Uncle Sam Goalkeeper of the Year and Team of the Season goalkeeper, Roman Berkey of St. Louis.
I'm going to have to pull out the hat here.
And there is going to be, probably a group, a fan base out in San Jose that's upset that Daniel, their Brazilian goalkeeper, wasn't nominated for this award. There was a late push for him. For underlying statistics, he made the preliminary voting, but he didn't make the final vote. So talk to me about who voted, and I'll tell you who you can complain to.
The ballots.
MLS Aces, Daryl Grove, Defensive Player of the Year. Daryl Grove, legendary podcast co-host of the Total Soccer Show, who passed away a few years ago, was a legend. I think indoor soccer player, defender, and that's why we are naming our MLS Aces Defensive Player of the Year for Daryl Grove. Also, this person gets a spot on the MLS Aces Team of the Season back line. The finalists were Alvaro Barril, Matt Miazga, Jakob Glesnes, Kai Wagner, and Tim Parker. 2 Cincinnati players.
Another preseason pick that I got on the final ballot, but did not win.
You did.
I also didn't vote for him. I'm pretty sure I voted for Tim Parker.
You voted for Tim Parker, which fair vote. I voted for Alvaro Barril from FC Cincinnati, their converted left wing back. This might be only the second player I got not correct, or whatever, didn't get the final vote.
Brag about it.
But the winner is Matt Miazga of FC Cincinnati. I mean, again, total fair vote. One of the best defenses in MLS. I think he played the most minutes across that back line. He was really damn good this year. So shout out Matt Miazga and congratulations. The final official award is the MLS Aces Most Valuable Player. This person also gets a spot on the MLS Aces Team of the Season. Finalists were Thiago Almada, Lucho Acosta, Hector Herrera, Hani Mukhtar, and Roman Berkey. Jason, do you remember who you voted for?
I think this one was pretty easy when it finally came down to it, even though I've been on the Almada train all year.
Hey, the Almada train was a good one, but
I voted for Lucho.
It was. I voted for Lucho. You voted for Lucho. Many people who voted on this ballot voted for Lucho.
It was pretty hard to not, honestly.
Yeah, bro. I mean, look, best
the
team in the league.
He was incredible.
Best player on the best team. His goals plus assists were fantastic. Lucho Acosta, congratulations on being named to the MLS Aces Most Valuable Player Award and obviously spot on the Team of the Season. I'm going to quickly run through the Team of the Season. You let me know.
I think I was pretty close with the Team of the Season.
You were. You only missed, I think, like 2 players, honestly. So you let me know who you think got snubbed, but I'm going to run through the official 2023 MLS Aces Best 11 Team of the Season, whatever you want to call it. But front 3 of Dennis Bouanga of LAFC on one wing, Cucho Hernandez of the Columbus Crew at striker. At the other wing, this was the only kind of player conversion. We fucked with it to get best 11 out there. Thiago Almada of Atlanta United up on another wing. Attacking midfield, we did have our MLS Aces MVP, Lucho Acosta of FC Cincinnati. In the central midfield spot, we had Hector Herrera of Houston Dynamo. In the defensive midfield spot, we had Obi Nobuodo of FC Cincinnati. At left back, it was Kai Wagner of the Philadelphia Union. At center back, it was our MLS Aces Defensive Player of the Year, Matt Miazga of FC Cincinnati. The other center back spot was Tim Parker of St. Louis City SC. At right back, it was Brooks Lennon of Atlanta United, and goalkeeper, our 2023 MLS Aces, Uncle Sam Nelson, goalkeeper of the year, Roman Berkey of St. Louis City FC. Jason, I have a list.
I want to say, I had Miles Robinson in this team.
You had Miles Robinson. You had Shaq Moore at right back. And see, this one, you had Joel Klaus at striker. And this one, I'm technically not going to give you wrong. You had Christian Espinoza at the one winger spot. But because Lucho got an automatic spot with MVP, I felt like we had to get Thiago Almada into the best 11. So Thiago Almada actually bumped out Christian Espinoza for one of the wings. So sorry, Christian, but Thiago did have a better season than you. He was a best 11 winger. So is there anyone that you are upset made this best 11 or upset didn't make it?
I don't feel like I'm really upset by any of them. Like, you could make your arguments throughout, I guess. Yes. I mean, actually, in some cases, really, you can't. But
sorry, go ahead.
I honestly feel like it's pretty consistent with what I believe most people will have.
Yeah, and I think
generally,
right, like we wanted to make it, or my goal every year is to make it the most playable best 11 that you possibly can, not like a 3-7 or whatever the fuck MLS is probably going to throw out there. Right back, easily the weakest spot in this best 11. Like Brooks Lennon was the best right back out of a crop of pretty bad right backs. MLS, not the best fullback league in the world. Only player that I'm really upset didn't make it to me was Aiden Morris. I know Obi Nobuodo was a stud D mid for the best.
I think I picked Obi.
But I think Aiden Morris was arguably just a slightly better 6 than him this year. But I can't be upset that Nobuodo made it. So, I mean, very good. Sorry, and also Alvaro Barril. Really tough when you're playing in the same league as Kai Wagner at left back. Sorry to say that, buddy, but that's it. That is.
Did I have him? Actually, we'll wait for next week for that. I'm pretty sure.
We next week we will talk. Post decision day, our preseason picks, and kind of how the regular season has shaped out. But let's get into the final part of today's episode. It is MLS Decision Day this upcoming week. We are recording, just for people listening's sake, we are recording prior to Inter Miami versus Charlotte FC. The only real impact that this game makes is if Charlotte wins, NYCFC, unfortunately, gets eliminated from playoff discussion. If Miami wins, nothing changes standings-wise. If the game ends in a draw, then I'm pretty sure nothing changes standings-wise. Charlotte just has 40 points, and just
The only
very
thing that changes in that scenario, I think, is
points.
the difficulty for certain teams over other teams to get.
Yes, if Charlotte ends up with the draw, they get 40 points. Then they join the crop of DC. Well, DC's out. They join the crop of Red Bulls, Chicago, and Charlotte. That would be sitting on 40 points, and then obviously still NYCFC still somehow making it with 38 points on
Who
decision.
would have a shot still?
Hey, we still have a shot here. So there's a lot of scenarios, and just for Jason's sake here, I do have a lot of scenarios written out in the notes. We're not going to talk about every single game. I think that's nearly impossible. But Jason, give me a game that you're looking at that you're like I have to sit down and make sure my eyes are glued on this one on decision day.
I mean, this is going to be like an obvious pick, I guess, for me, but it's, to me, Chicago versus NYCFC. First of all, it's a little MLS Aces derby, but also we get the winner of that, barring whatever happens tonight, right? Like, let's just assume that's like a crucial game for both teams potentially. And I guess if things go bad, then it's not. But let me think of another that I can probably.
I mean, I do.
A lame pick.
I will just make a comment about that one. And look, we can just kind of make quick comments about these ones, right? At the end of the day, if things go my way with NYCFC still in the playoff hunt after tonight, and NYCFC can beat Chicago at home, then it's going to be a fun recording for me next week. That's all I got to say to you, Jason.
I will say, what is the Nashville versus Red Bulls?
Red Bulls, yeah.
I think that's going to be really interesting because isn't there a potential chance that Nashville could fall to the 8 spot still?
No. So Nashville, I don't think they lose too much, to be honest.
If they oh, wait, no, their points are way ahead.
Yeah, no. So Nashville, pretty much the only thing Nashville gains is a jump to 6th place if Atlanta ends up losing.
So Red Bulls, we're just talking play-in here.
Yeah.
At least in the East. In the West, the teams are almost sort of in.
I will just mention for Nashville versus Red Bulls need a win to make the playoffs. Like they I'm pretty sure they win most other tie-breaking qualifying, things, whatever it may be. A draw isn't bad for them. It's not ideal because then that leaves the door open for other teams to potentially jump them. But if they
leave the door open for Chicago or Charlotte.
Charlotte, yes. So if Red Bulls win, they control their own destiny there pretty much. But
it depends, though. It depends because if Montreal and let's say Charlotte wins tonight and Montreal wins, and then Charlotte
Red Bulls still win the first tiebreaker.
Yeah, but they would be lower on points.
Then the Red Bulls would get the final spot because they have more wins.
No. If Montreal wins, they'll be 44. If Charlotte wins, they'll be 42.
Yes.
Oh, if New York wins, they'll be 43. Oh, no. They'll be 42, but then Charlotte has an extra game. So their max is 45, actually. Charlotte's max is 8 spot.
You are right. I'm not going to have the listeners listen to us doing math, but you are right. Look, the teams sitting on 40 are going to need some help.
Tonight's game actually matters a decent amount because
game
Charlotte
matters
is right on the cusp.
A lot, right? I'm just going to quickly run through some of the other games that actually don't really matter. FC Cincinnati versus Atlanta United. Nothing really to play for here. Cincinnati have the supporter shield. They can pretty much play their second team. If certain things go Atlanta's way, they can make their way all the way up to 5th, but they would need some help there. Columbus Crew, actually, we'll talk about that one a little bit. New England Revolution versus Philadelphia Union. Philly, if they win, they secure the 3rd spot. New England could potentially jump up to 4th if they win and Columbus loses. Toronto FC versus Orlando City. Game's pretty much pointless outside of Michael Bradley. Let me see what other games don't really mean shit. I didn't put the rest of the games on here because I think these are the main ones that kind of matter outside of the ones we talked about already, meaning NYCFC versus Chicago, meaning Nashville versus Red Bulls.
Kansas City versus Minnesota you just talked about, right?
SKC versus Minnesota is a big one because both teams need to win to keep playoff hopes alive. straight up, it is what it is. If they
That one actually might be the most interesting because it's going to be very competitive, even though there's still other results above them that need to happen.
Well, also, if the game ends in a 1-1 draw, 0-0 draw, whatever, or a loss for one team, their season's done. Like
True, it'll be entertaining at least.
A draw ends both of it, right? You have Minnesota now coachless. You have Sporting Kansas City, who bounced back from their awful start to the season to potentially be in a playoff spot. So I think that game is going to have a lot of goals and a lot of firepower, at least of like, we got to get balls across the line there. I don't know. Is there another one of these that stands out to you?
Well, these are the three we haven't talked about. Well, we talked about Charlotte.
Yeah, we talked. So Charlotte, obviously they have the midweek game tonight versus Miami, where if they do win, then they're into a playoff spot on decision. They're already in a playoff spot on decision day, and the game could pretty much mean like not nothing, but the game could pretty much be a lot more relaxed for Charlotte if they do end up winning tonight. If they draw or lose tonight, then it becomes pretty much a must win for Charlotte to make their first ever playoff. So this is, I think, a huge set of two games for Charlotte. They've been in very good form. It's been a wild season for them, from serious stuff that happened with Anton Walks this past offseason to, I think mixed performances to now they're kind of hot at the end of the season. Can Charlotte make their first playoffs in year 2? I think they have a good shot at it, and they control their own destiny 100%.
Yeah. I think the only other game I was thinking about was this Salt Lake game versus Colorado, because Colorado's not playing for anything and they're just the worst. So
yeah,
arguably, so like if Salt Lake wins that, their position in the West fluctuates actually a decent amount potentially, right? If other results go their way with Seattle and Houston, and Vancouver.
I was going to say, right, you have St. Louis hosting. I missed a few games putting on the notes. You have St. Louis hosting Seattle. St. Louis really has nothing to play for. Seattle has a chance, I think, to just lock down third place wholeheartedly. Vancouver hosting LAFC. That's going to be a big one standing wise. I don't think LAFC can move too much in the standings, but Vancouver can move up. If
Seattle beats St. Louis and Vancouver beats LAFC, Seattle will move above them. They'd be second.
And Vancouver can move up pretty high their own right in the standings. I think the same way
5 are interesting. Or 4.
100%. I think the same way in the Eastern Conference, the main games to pay attention to is the result of the midweek Miami-Charlotte game, the result of the weekend Miami-Charlotte game, the result of NYCFC versus Chicago, and I think the result of Nashville Red Bulls. Those 4 games are really going to be the ones that I'm keeping my eyes on, in the sense of, okay, how is the East really going to shape out? The same way in the West, where it's SKC Minnesota, a win puts them in a playoff spot. You have Dallas traveling away to the Galaxy. Galaxy are eliminated. Dallas with a win pretty much secure a playoff spot. Portland hosting Houston. Portland need a win to secure a playoff spot. San Jose hosting Austin. San Jose needs a win to secure a playoff spot, right? Like the seeding, if I'm talking about the top 4 seeds in the Eastern and the Western conferences, it's interesting to me because it means playoff games, but I don't think the top 4 can really change that much in each conference.
I think it matters in the sense that, like, if RSL ends up second, for instance, like, which is pretty, or I guess they can't, but Seattle ends up second, or RSL ends up third, or whatever. It matters based on how that shakes out in the playoffs. So
100%,
it's hard to like talk about it without it happening, because there's so many different things at play. But the seeding actually in the top 4, 2 through 4, I guess, because the ones and both are locked in, is super interesting to me, because it just, how that plays out is the difference between playing maybe, Seattle in the second round, or I don't know, Portland.
No.
Like there's a huge difference. So
it's a complete fair point. Like, you can go either Team Jason or Team Tom. Team Jason, looking at the top half, seeing what the best teams in the conferences are looking at. Team Tom looking at the bottom half of the playoffs and seeing who actually
I think
squeaks
Team
in.
Jason and Team Tom are both looking on the outside in.
Literally, Team Jason and Team Tom are watching all these games, and we'll talk about them next week. I think the hardest thing really to talk about as far as previewing Decision Day, so that's why I don't want to talk too much more about this, because the hardest thing is, compared to, I think, other years, there's so many scenarios that can happen for teams making the playoffs, for teams not making it, for teams in the top half who are going to have home team advantage for the first round or two. You know what I'm saying? So this is a very tough year to talk about Decision Day. I think how I'm going to take this in and how I'm going to wrap up, I guess, the episode for me, and if you obviously, Jason, go for whatever else you need to go for on this, is my eyes are going to be on all games besides about two, meaning Toronto and meaning Colorado. And,
the thing is, Toronto is still kind of interesting because it's Bradley's last game.
Ah, true. Fuck, you're right. Okay. Orlando, yeah. So MLS Sicko, MLS 360, that's pretty much how you have to take in Decision Day, because
that's going to be the best way to take it in, I think.
It's going to be an absolute whirlwind until all of the Eastern Conference games are done. We can see what that table looks like, really digest it, see who didn't make the playoffs, which coaches are probably going to get fired, aka Nick Cushing, and we'll go from there. You know what I'm saying? And then it's going to be the same thing in the West. Okay, Western Conference games are done. Let's see who didn't make the playoffs. Let's see who made it in, what playoff seedings look the best. And like, compared to other years, it's just really difficult this year to hone in on that, I think, because there's so many possibilities, like where it's everyone's so compact together.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing I'd say, just going back to my point of like the positioning within the playoffs really matters still. So even those games are still interesting, is because like I don't feel like if you're Orlando or Philly or Columbus or New England, like they're going to want to be in a position probably they probably wouldn't say this, but they probably want to avoid seeing Cincinnati as long as possible.
100%, right? And I'm not saying those games don't matter. I'm just saying there's so many different scenarios, let's just say, for the New England Revolution.
It's really hard to talk about, I feel like, is at the point, because it's just
It was a better idea to talk about it in my head than it is live talking to you on a podcast, because it's like New England can finish anywhere from 3rd to 7th.
Yeah.
How am I, it's like I could go through and give predictions for all these games, but at the end of the day, it's just the magic of MLS's Decision Day. We've seen so many just, I think, fantastic moments over the years happen on Decision Day. For me, my brain always goes to the back-to-back years where LA Galaxy played the Houston Dynamo. Houston knocked them out of playoff contention like 2 years in a row with losses. Like, there's just this special spark of Decision Day that's very similar to MLS Opening Day, that's very similar to like MLS Cup, where it's like your season rides or dies on your performance, and if you're in a pretty shitty scenario, the performance of other teams as well. So it's going to be a fun one. If this is your first time watching MLS's Decision Day because you're new to the league, because you got drawn through it for whatever reason, Messi, what Leagues Cup, whatever, welcome. And just sit down, put MLS 360 on, and just watch the madness happen. Because
sit down, it's like 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
It's Boxing Day. This is MLS's Boxing Day. It's a fun time. Jason, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, congratulations.
Sit down and make some popcorn.
I'm going to sit down with the beer probably, but congratulations to Michael Bradley on an amazing career. I'm excited to watch this final game, just as I'm excited. And Jason, I know you're excited to watch the rest of these games. Mm-hmm. Hit us up on social media for your MLS playoff takes at MLS Aces.
Tell us who should have been in our team of the season.
Yeah, give us team of the season. Give us all of that in comments if you're watching this on YouTube, on social media at MLS Aces, at Jason Vivang on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it. We'll catch up with everyone next week. A little bit of a shorter episode, but it's okay because we're all just getting prepped for Decision Day in the playoffs. So it is what it is. We'll talk more soccer in the upcoming weeks.
We're going to have some It'll be a fun episode next week. Some playoff ideas and some predictions. Looking back at how bad we did, or good.
It's looking back at how bad we did. It's talking playoff predictions, how wrong we're going to be at the end of these playoffs with our predictions. that is the more fun episode than this one. So unfortunately, you guys have to wait one more week for a really fun conversation. Hopefully we can get Sam back next week to look ahead. We'll just toss Vaughn's predictions onto Sam's and make believe that Sam had Vaughn's predictions, and we'll go from there. So everyone have a great night. Thank you for listening. Make sure you follow, subscribe, like on all platforms you listen or watch this on, and we'll enjoy Decision Day, and we'll talk next week.